Hi everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. We have an update on another story we've been covering regarding a couple in Indiana. Well, they're actually a former couple, Michael and Christine Barnett. The state of Indiana filed charges against these two in September, alleging that they neglected their dependent daughter who was adopted from the Ukraine and changed her age and fled to Canada. They are currently charged in the state of Indiana with two charges of neglect of a dependent. And there's been a lot of speculation and media interest in the story. And is she an adult? Is she not an adult? What is this? Did she scam this couple? Was it a scam by the adoption agency? What happened here? Well, there's a lot going on. Obviously, the couple were in court in the end of September, and they both pleaded not guilty to the charges. But earlier, in the end of last week, Michael Barnett actually filed a motion with this court to dismiss the charges against him. Now, according to the according to a local paper, let's just say, he filed a motion to dismiss the charges. And in the brief, it was electronically filed on Friday, September 30th at 5:10 p.m. He filed the motion to dismiss the case against him, basically. And they say that they are noting that the statute of limitations has gone up in this case. There is a 5-year statute of limitations when it comes to charges of neglect of a dependent. And with the charges having a file date in 2013, his attorney says that the statute of limitation has expired. The state responded by saying that's not true because the family or the former married couple concealed evidence by changing their adoptive daughter's age. So in the brief that was filed in Marion County probate, in a brief points out that a Marion County probate judge in 2012 changed the girl's birth records from an age of, I believe, 10 to 22. The change of the age was never hidden from prosecutors, according to his attorney. The change of age was also upheld in 2016 when another couple filed to become guardians of their daughter, Natalia Grace. A guardian ad litem, LaDonna Elaine Sorensen, represented Natalia in 2016 and was appointed as her guardian. And she told BuzzFeed that at the time of the request for new guardianship in 2016 by the Manses, she believed that Natalia was a teenager, most likely around 15 years old. An attorney that representing Michael during 2016 said that he believed that Natalia was an adult. So basically what the attorneys here are saying is that Michael actually never hid or concealed anything because the state actually signed off on the change of age of Natalia and then upheld it again in 2017 when the Manses attempted to obtain guardianship of their daughter. The attorney that represented Natalia in 2017 during that case, she said that Michael Tromel, he told the Journal Courier last week that he petitioned the court to readjust the girl's age and to go back to 2003. He did so to get her back into school, but he said it was unsuccessful. So there's a lot going on here, a ton, so much. The judge upheld the age change from 2012, and so basically it allowed her birth date to remain as 1989. It's kind of confusing here because it seems like there's some confusion on if the state says that she's an adult, they need to determine whether or not the change of age that was done in 2012 is actually accurate. And then if they're charging them with neglect of a dependent and they're saying that her age was of underage, wouldn't the burden of proof now be on the fall of the prosecuting side to determine if she actually is underage? This story is so messy. It almost feels like, well, there's so many questions about how old this girl is. It seems like, why did they bring charges against her based upon the fact that the state already determined she was an adult? Does the state actually believe that they fabricated it? Well, here's what the affidavit said. And I actually got a copy of it from BuzzFeed posted this online. So what the affidavit says is that that the state of Indiana and in its capacity is familiar with the reports of Sheriff Goldsmith and Lieutenant Huber of Tippecanoe County Sheriff's Department stating affirmative that on September 15th, 2014, Sheriff Goldsmith and then Detective Goldsmith spoke with Natalia Barnett. Natalia said that she was originally from the Ukraine but came to the United States in 2008 through an adoption. Natalia said that she was adopted in 2010 by Michael Barnett and Christine Barnett. Natalia advised that she had a form of dwarfism. Natalia advised after being adopted by Michael Barnett and Christine Barnett, she lived in Hamilton County, state of Indiana, with the Barnetts for approximately 2 years. She said that Michael Barnett and Christine left her in an apartment on 11th Street. She said that she was left alone in the apartment in Lafayette while the rest of the Barnett family moved to Canada. She said she had not seen them since they left for Canada. The affiant is familiar with Peyton Manning Children's Hospital records, which shows that on June 3rd, 2010, she was examined by Dr. Riggs. Dr. Riggs estimated that her age to be approximately age 8. Said medical records also showed that in 2012, a skeletal survey completed at Peyton Manning Children's Hospital estimated her bone age to be around 11. The affiant believes said records to be credible and reliable as they are kept in the ordinary course of business. On September 5th, 2019, this affiant spoke with Michael Barnett. Michael Barnett admitted Michael Barnett and Christine Barnett adopted Natalia in November of 2010. Michael Barnett admitted the Barnetts had Natalia's age legally changed from 8 years old to 22 years old in June 2012. Michael Barnett admitted that Christine Barnett told Natalia to tell others Natalia looks young but was actually 22. Michael Barnett admitted that Michael Barnett and Christine Barnett rented an apartment for Natalia in Lafayette, Indiana in July of 2013. He admitted, other than paying rent, Michael and Christine did not financially support Natalia after leaving. Natalia at the apartment in Lafayette Natalia did not support her after leaving her in the apartment. Michael Barnett and Christine Barnett moved to Canada. He admitted Michael Barnett and Christine Barnett were aware that doctors at Peyton Manning Hospital determined that her age was of a minor child in 2012. He also admitted that he believed Natalia was a minor child in July of 2013 when they left her in an apartment in Lafayette. So this is where the confusion comes. So even though the state changed the age, the prosecutors and the detectives say that Michael admitted in an interview in September that he knew that his daughter was not of age. He knew that she was a minor child, and they still left her alone in Indiana. This case is so, I don't even know what direction this is supposed to go, because not only do they leave her, she gets set up for Social Security and she gets enrolled in adult education classes. Now, the interesting thing is, at the adult education center that she attended, it is called the Lafayette Adult Resource Academy. And according to the Insider, which actually spoke to her neighbor, Margaret Axon, she said that Natalia loved to talk. She was shy at first, but once she got going, she had something to say about everything. She said that she didn't believe it was right for a family to leave the country with a young woman recently out on her own, but she also didn't think that Natalia was a child. She said, I'm not sure how old she was, but she had to have been at least 18. She didn't seem worldly enough to be 30. I think it must have been something in between. She said that they not only went to classes together, but they also socialized in the neighborhood, and they often met up with people from a drug and alcohol recovery house at the end of the block. Axon said, I never worried about her going over there because I was always with her. The residents had to take an alcohol test every night, stay clean, and sign in and out. Natalia was lonely and just wanted people to talk to. In September 2013, things changed, and she said that Natalia disappeared. She just up and vanished. They asked at school, and I said I didn't know where she went. That night, Axon learned that Natalia had been evicted from her apartment. A few days before Natalia vanished, police stopped by the interview and asked her about her, she said. They kept telling me that they just wanted to put her somewhere safe. So she was essentially enrolled at the school that was an adult education. However, she was only enrolled there for a very short period of time. And I think what the school alleges is when they determined that she was not of age or something else was going on, they actually located and contacted the appropriate authorities. Now the insider is trying to is basically stating that this LARA, which is what the acronym is for the adult education, it doesn't allow anyone to take classes. To attend, a student needs to take a placement test to determine their knowledge of math, English, history, and science. If they don't demonstrate a junior high level of knowledge, they are asked to work with a tutor to get up to grade level before they are permitted to enroll. This is adult education, and we cannot have anyone under the age of 16. Anyone under 18 must be enrolled by a parent. This is what a teacher, Meg Foley, told the insider. So even though she was enrolled in there, it's unclear whether or not she was actually taking adult education classes, if she passed those specific assessments. There's a lot of questions here. And then there's also reports that the school actually was instrumental in reporting her to the authorities. So there's so many questions here because her neighbor says she's over 18. Michael Barnett says he told the police that she was a minor. Christine Barnett told the Daily Mail in an interview that she was not a minor and that she had multiple evaluations from numerous psychiatric stays that determined that she had personality disorders that could only be diagnosed in an adult. And she had been diagnosed with like antisocial personality disorder, which is sociopathy, and psychopathy. Now, Christine alleges that she attempted to kill them, pushed her into an electric fence, tried to poison her with unknown substances in her coffee, says that her behavior was extremely violent and dangerous. There's a lot of questions still on what the Barnetts did in order to change the age of the child. But this case is so crazy. Like every time I feel like I understand what's going on here, I feel like there's always like some other layer that happens. And so I found another person that spoke to the Courier, the same outlet, and they actually said that adoptive parents say that the Ukraine has a history of falsifying birth certificates. So Kim Thompson told the Courier that other Indiana parents, she adopted a child from the Ukraine, and she says that she may know why Natalia's age is so confusing. She said, I will say that the Ukraine is above all else corrupt, and birth certificates can be completely fabricated. And she told that to the insider, And she said her son once explained to how kids are determined their ages in the orphanages. And she said kids would base their age compared to the height of the other children. And if one kid was certain he was 10, a taller kid would be 11, and a shorter kid would be 9. If that's true, now this is just what she's alleging, that could definitely create some discrepancies. And then how did the child get into the orphanage? Do they actually have the birth certificates? There's a lot of questions about some of these foreign, and the Ukraine in general has had some instability over the years. So whether or not their birth records are all in order as well. There's so much going on here. So basically what they wrote in the brief is that by failing to allege the age of the alleged victim at the time of the alleged offense, the state frustrated Mr. Barnett's ability to vigorously defend himself against the charges. The state could be pursuing this case under the theory that the girl was under the age of 18 or because she has alleged mental or physical disability or both. The defendant, at the very least, could be put on notice in the charging information as to whether the state alleges the girl was under the age of 18. So basically, they're saying that with this specific charge, is the state going to assert that she was under the age of 18, or is the state going to assert that they neglected an dependent that was over the age of 18 and she was just someone that was determined a dependent because of her physical or mental disabilities? I feel like every time I turn around, I don't know what to think about this case. Now, there's been incidents with, like, people have found her YouTube, and I have found her YouTube channel. I watched a video of hers where she talked about how she wanted to be an advocate and talk about bullying and, you know, wanted to help inspire people that had disabilities. She referred to herself as a little person. And then she didn't sound worldly as an adult. This was actually a couple years ago. She sounded like a teenager, but it's so hard to figure out like what her actual age is. And the attorney that represented her in 2016, he says that she was actually not a part of the age change, and she was not given any sort of, the court didn't give her any sort of credence or even talk to her about what she believed her age was, and instead relied on documents from doctors and from psychiatric documents that determined they believed that she was older than 18. Either way, I don't know that I buy that she scammed them. If she was an adult, maybe it was that she ended up in an orphanage. Maybe she was a teenager. Maybe because of her height and the way that that parent is alleging. Now, this is all my thinking out loud here. Maybe the orphanage, decided that her birth date was in 2003 based on that criteria, and it was easier to adopt out a younger child than an older child. But that still wouldn't base this that she was scamming them to get help. It would be more like the adoption agency and the orphanage in Ukraine would have been more responsible for determining the age, because it was that area, it was that all of her paperwork came from the adoption, or from the orphanage and the adoption agency. So if we're to believe Christine that she's scamming them, that would have to be like a co-conspiracy then between the adoption agency, between the orphanage in Ukraine, and then Natalia. And that's hard to fathom. So maybe it falls on that they just didn't know her age. They made a best guess and they were wrong. It's so hard to know here. And it is clear that based on, even though doctors evaluated her, it's hard to determine what her age would be, because typical testing for her bones would not be accurate because of her specific genetic disorder that causes issues with bone growth. It's so messy. But I don't know that no matter what, whether or not they changed her age, if she was receiving Social Security and she had severe mental illness issues as reported by the mother, and she was represented by a guardian ad litem in 2016, that begs the question, was she even capable of living on her own, and should she have still had some level of guardianship? And if that's the case, could they not be then charged for abandoning a dependent adult that had a guardian? So I guess I can kind of understand why his attorney would want the state to like clarify what angle they're going to take so they know how to create a defense here. Obviously, like, this is so complex, and every time I think I understand what's going on. I really don't. But this story is going to get crazier and crazier. The family that has her is still treating her like her birth date is in 2003. She's acting like she's a 16-year-old when she's with them. She still lives with them despite the fact that she does not have any sort of, she can't go to high school, she can't go to school, she's legally 30 years old and does still receive Social Security through disability. So if she still can't live alone at this point and she still needs help to do daily living, again, could they just be charged for abandoning a dependent adult? I don't know. This case seems so odd, and it seems odd that they would charge it just based on the fact that Michael made a statement, and it seems like that's what happened, is that he told the officers, yeah, we knew it, but we just lied. So they're going off his admission. But then his attorney is telling people that he never said that. So did he say it? Did he not say it? Like, why is this like coming back? What made them question him again in September? What changed in this story? There's so many directions here and so many unanswered questions. And there's a hearing set for the motion for dismissing these charges set for October 15th, 2019. And then the jury trial in this case is actually set for January 28th, 2020. I don't know what to think, you guys. Either way, I find it hard to believe that this was a scamming thing. I do think there is probably some serious question about the age. I don't doubt that. But I can't get my head around this is going to be like The Orphan. That just seems too far-fetched for me. But I guess we'll have to hang on tight and keep looking and figure out what happens next. With the court's case set up for the 15th, which will be in, 9 days from now, a week and some change from now. I'll bring you some updates later when I have more, and if we find out anything more about Natalia, I will always keep you posted. But it seems that her age is still quite in limbo, and I wonder if it will need to be actually established by the court before it moves forward. All right, you guys, I'll be back later. Let me know what your thoughts are. Bye.